The authorities in Ukraine decided once again to create a single local church. Following Yushchenko and Poroshenko, Zelensky announced similar ambitions. Advisor to the head of the office of the president, Mikhailo Podolyak, came up with a whole program in which he spoke about the plans of the state in the church sphere. Since Podolyak is essentially a full-time spokesperson of power, we can assume that he is voicing its official position.
Ми закінчимо еру двоцерковності, у нас не буде дві церкви, у нас буде єдина помісна церква, православна. Не може бути в Україні дві однакові церкви.
In essence, the idea is correct. However, only the clergy or believers of the church, not the state, can voice it. To leave one denomination means to destroy another, which is discrimination and iniquity. The constitution of Ukraine clearly states that the church is separated from the state. Besides, we quote, "No religion can be recognized by the state as compulsory, so the destruction of other confessions in favor of one is precisely the imposition of a compulsory religion." Therefore, the intentions of the authorities with regard to the single local church directly contradict the constitution and therefore are anti-legal.
Є українська церква, все, крапка. І є пропагандистський інститут під назвою, будь-якою назвою, в даному випадку УПЦ, який працює на цінності, підкреслюю, на цінності іншої країни.
How could anyone think that in the 21st century a representative of authority could speak lies about the church so explicitly, engage in inciting religious hatred? Are there any statements, decisions or documents of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church that promote the values of another country? None, and Podolyak is perfectly aware of this fact.
В нас Печерська лавра має бути українською в повному обсязі, богослужіння має йти на нашій мові, на українській мові. Це ключові засадничі елементи.
This sounds so savage it is even redundant to comment on it. Will the authorities tell believers what language they should pray in? Seriously? Does it mean that for more than 1,000 years, believers prayed in the wrong Church Slavonic language in our land, and now they will start doing it in the correct, so to say, Ukrainian? Well, then probably everyone, not just the Orthodox, should pray in the state language. For example, Ukrainian Jews. Or Muslims. Will the authorities put forward the same demands also to these confessions?
Російська церква має називатись російською церквою. Якщо ти ходиш під час війни в російську православну церкву, я підкреслю, не Українська православна церква Московського патріархату, а саме Російська православна церква, то тоді ти маєш для себе внутрішньо сказати, чи готовий ти підтримувати армію іншої держави, яка вбиває, гвалтує твоїх дітей. Це дуже важливе питання.
The UOC is already tired of reiterating that it has a completely independent status. But now absolutely all state agents, let alone the media, obstinately persist in calling it the Moscow Patriarchate of the Russian Church. At the same time, everyone realizes very well that it is being done intentionally in order to link the church with the enemy, discredit it as much as possible in the eyes of the people, and then destroy it. One can argue for a long time with the spokesman of the office of the president and say that today the UOC has nothing to do with the Russian church, but it is best to listen to what Podolyak said only a few months ago.
Є РПЦ, безумовно, церква, яка прийняла позицію російської агресії, але все, що стосується конфесій, які є в Україні, це трошки інші конфесії, в тому числі УПЦ. Вона іншу позицію зайняла, а це ж багато людей, які слухають там, священиків і так далі. Люди приймуть всі рішення, і я думаю, що вже прийняли, і в тому числі УПЦ прийняла всі рішення, які будуть йти тільки на користь Україні.
It turns out that until quite recently, the UOC, in the mouth of the authorities, was a church completely unrelated to the ROC, which opposed the war. In fact, not only Podolak would say about it. Let's listen to the Minister of Culture Alexander Tkachenko. In September 2022, he stated that there is no Moscow church in Ukraine.
Представників Російської православної церкви в Україні я не знаю. Є Українська православна церква, яка на останньому синоді відмежувалася якраз від Російської православної церкви.
However, a few months later, Tkachenko already calls the UOC none other than Moscow Patriarchy.
Священники УПЦ МП являются как раз теми, кто способствует распространению российских нарративов во время войны в Украине.
Even yesterday, the country's leaders warned of the danger of an internal split in society because of the church issue. Head of the office of the president, Andriy Yermak, wrote in March that useful idiots are dispersing the idea of a religious conflict in society due to the presence of the Russian church in Ukraine. Podolak said the same thing.
Я б і попросив би, щоб люди зараз не спекулювали на цьому. Чому? Тому що ми можемо отримати конфлікт внутрішній, а нам сьогодні єдність, яку продемонструвала Україна в всьому світі, набагато принциповіше, набагато важливіше.
The same words were spoken at the end of April by the Speaker of the Parliament, Ruslan Stefanchuk, in the context of bills against the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. During the war, we have no right to adopt a single law that splits the Ukrainian society. Apparently, now is the right time to split the society.
Сьогодні, я думаю, що і суспільство, і всі готові до радикальних рішень. Кабінету міністрів поставлена задача в найближчий строк розробити законопроект, який буде одноголосно, я переконаний, прийнятий у Верховній Раді України, що нам робити далі з будь-якою релігійною організацією, яка створює національну загрозу для безпеки України.
The UOJ wrote a lot about what the security service of Ukraine found in the churches and monasteries of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. These are children's Bibles and prayer books, liturgical breviaries published in Moscow back in the 70s, portraits and books of Patriarch Kirill, liturgical instructions and other similar materials. Obviously, there is no security threat from the UOC and cannot be. And the SBU searches are nothing more than a high-profile media campaign organized by the authorities to discredit the church. All this while the church officially condemned the invasion of the Russian Federation and sent over 1 million tons of humanitarian aid to the armed forces of Ukraine and the IDPs during the war. Now there is a real war against the Ukrainian church. The upper Lavra was taken away from it, and the lower Lavra is currently in question. The same is being spoken about the Pochayev Lavra. The Constitutional Court unblocked Poroshenko's law on the renaming of the UOC. Zelensky stripped a number of UOC bishops of citizenship or imposed sanctions against others. Now the authorities promise to destroy the church altogether so that only the OKU remains. In the terms of Yermak, useful idiots are dispersing the idea of a religious conflict in society and an internal split in the interests of Russia. But if we know that the UOC does not pose any threat to society, why is all this being done? We will recall that Poroshenko's activity in organizing a single local church began exactly 1 year before the 2019 presidential election. Coincidentally, a year before the 2024 elections, another president, Zelensky, got preoccupied with the same idea, to become the spiritual father of the nation. Will it just work? Now Poroshenko's adepts, despite Zelensky's policy against the church, still consider Poroshenko the father of the nation.
Прихильники п'ятого президента Петра Порошенка зараз в соціальними мережами ширять дописи, що там люди не мають забувати, хто привіз Томос і так далі, і що президент Зеленський перебирає на себе ініціативи і програми «Армія, мова, віра», і що це започаткував Петро Олексійович, а Володимир Олександрович лише зараз користується цими благами. Що відповісти?
Podolak is trying to answer like it doesn't matter what Poroshenko did there, that Zelensky's actions are important, but this appears feeble. For the electorate of Poroshenko, which Zelensky is now trying to win over, he is just a miserable imitator. Their hero is the ex-president, and not only theirs. On January the 7th, on the anniversary of the Thomas, Poroshenko went to Fana to Patriarch Bartholomew to festivities. He called Poroshenko the president, his friend, and recalled Poroshenko's contribution to the creation of the OKU. In other words, the Fana looks upon Zelensky's efforts to destroy the UOC quite favorably, but Poroshenko is still its friend and president. Of course, the current government can build its campaign on Poroshenko's manifesto, but it still won't entice Poroshenko's electorate. A copy is always worse than the original. As for the intentions to destroy the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, they are ridiculous and naive. There have been many such efforts in history. The last one was only a few decades ago, during the Soviets. If Ukraine is a Christian country, then it must remember the words of Christ, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." The Bolsheviks did not heed these words and disappeared in the end. One had better not repeat their mistake.